Hi everybody! I'm really sorry I can't be with you all in person today, but I'm in India right now visiting family. It's such a huge honor to be asked to speak, especially because this is my first year at Girls Inc. And at first I was a little nervous to join the program because I didn't know anybody else who was doing it, and I was afraid I'd be the oldest girl there. But after going through all the group meetings, events, and especially training week, I've had so much more fun than I'd ever expected. For those of you who don't know, Training Week was a week in June where we all went up to Cal State Fullerton and had the chance to listen to a ton of awesome speakers. And although at first I was a little bummed that I had to wake up at 7 in the morning while all my other friends were sleeping until the afternoon, I'm so glad I didn't follow in their footsteps, because in just 1 week I got to learn about finance, networking, etiquette, and my career, not to mention I got to aggressively defend Lego inventions, teach everyone how to find love on LinkedIn, and made some awesome new friends. Of course, the best part of this whole externship process has been the actual job placement. I had the great fortune of being placed at Hoag Hospital Foundation this year, and we're all so lucky to have the opportunity to work in such a professional setting. I almost felt like a kid playing dress up every morning when I'd put on my business clothes. I even took selfies every day of my outfits because I was excited by how adult I looked. This whole experience has been full of firsts for me. My first office desk, my first business lunch, my first meeting, and I've learned so much about myself, my career, and the workplace during this process. When I heard I would be working at Hoag Hospital Foundation, I was a little confused because I couldn't figure out what that had to do with filmmaking. But after my first day, I was so glad Stephanie and Naisha placed me at Hoag because I got to experience firsthand the different facets of philanthropy and funding. As an aspiring film producer, figuring out ways to fund projects is something I'm going to have to become very familiar with, and at Hoag I have definitely learned tons of tips to help me with that in the future. For example, from the many informational interviews I had the opportunity to conduct, I learned about the importance of branding and marketing in creating hype and attracting potential clients. I also learned about campaigns and the different steps and stages there are to drive a project. All these tips will definitely be in my mind as I start producing my own films, and I am so grateful for the chance to understand the process so early on and from such a unique perspective. Other than informational interviews, I also got the chance to go to meetings and work on projects. I went to around 7 meetings in my time at Hoag, and each one was different. My first ever meeting was with just a few other people, but a bunch of things stayed in my mind. For example, one of the women talked about the major difference a change in a couple of words could make, a realization that really impacted my thought process. I also went to a meeting that was so large a whole nother division from Irvine had to Skype in. Here, I was mesmerized by a bunch of numbers and acronyms I did not understand, but it was still very important and interesting to see all the pieces that go together in making and running a hospital. These meetings were also informational because I was able to observe how everyone presented themselves, both when they were presenting and when they were listening. I genuinely enjoyed each and every meeting I went to, even the ones I had to wake up at 6 in the morning for, because they all offered a unique lesson. I also got the opportunity to work on various projects, from fun, artsy tasks like scrapbooking to initially daunting and confusing assignments like entering data into a strange new software. These projects were really important to me because it was an exercise in responsibility and efficiency. For the scrapbooks, I was initially incredibly slow because I'm a bit of a perfectionist and I wanted to cut out each and every picture in cute little shapes. But after a couple of days with very little progress, I realized the importance of balance between speed and quality. Entering data presented its own challenges because I had a quick introduction to the software, a towering stack of information to enter, and no one to ask for help because everyone was gone at a full-day meeting. From this experience, I learned the importance of initiative and duty because I had to seek out help from people I didn't normally interact with. I was so grateful for the projects Hoag had entrusted to me because even if to them they seemed like menial tasks, for me it was an opportunity to see how I handled responsibility. In addition to all the amazing opportunities I got at Hoag, the people I worked with had a huge part in making the experience so positive. On my very first day, I was taken around the office by one of my supervisors, Deb McCune, to introduce myself, and everyone was so welcoming and friendly even though I was awkward and stiff from nervousness. They seemed genuinely interested in what I had to say, asking about my college and travel plans and readily offering their own advice. I am not a person who becomes quickly comfortable in new places, but at Hogue I was able to confidently strut from office to office, saying hi to everyone because the environment was so warm and cordial. And a lot of that was thanks to you, Deb, and I'm so indebted to you because you made me feel very comfortable and made the experience so much less terrifying than it could have been. I also went to crazy business lunches where we talked about everything from fitness regimens to life goals, and here I'm indebted to you, Jen, because you were so open and really went out of your way to find activities that made me feel like I was part of a group. These were my very first conversations with adults who weren't family members or teachers, and other than simply being very enjoyable conversations, I also learned a lot about the different possibilities for my own future. Every day for the last 15 minutes or so of work, I would have time set aside to write in a journal. I thought this was a very useful and cool idea because it gave me time to reflect on everything I learned that day and think about how I would apply it in my future. In my first entry, I was simultaneously ecstatic and intimidated by how different and new everything was. I'd written in the journal that I was scared to conduct my first informational interview the next day because I was afraid I'd run out of questions to ask. But in the next day's journal entry, the excitement was almost palpable because the interview had gone so well and I'd learned so much. It's not every day a 17-year-old gets to work in such an adult setting. I'm so grateful for the amazing opportunities Girls Inc. and Hogue Hospital have provided me with. Throughout the experience, I've become more confident both in myself and in my career because I know that I'm already ahead of the curve. Thank you all so much for making this experience so positive. I wish I could return next year, but I guess college is a pretty good alternative.